right, we are at 5 after. Welcome everybody. Paula, you want to jump us off? What are we talking about today?
We are talking about sphere referrals. And I thought we'd start with seeing how many sphere referrals people brought in 2020. So if you brought in 2 sphere referrals to your team in 2020, raise your hand. 3? 5? So Hannah, how many? 3? Carrie? 4? Anybody bring in more than 4? Cameron, you brought in 5? Awesome.
So what'd you do, Cameron?
I think I got lucky. I've been doing this for 8 years. And so I think it's a little bit of just people know me. A lot of them were repeat people. So I sold them the house and then they bought and sold again.
So that means you had them in your database?
Yep, 36 touch, classic things. I'm probably did awful about reaching out. Usually it's all around events for us, and that didn't happen. So it was like right when Corona happened, there was a bunch of, hey, how you doing calls, and then really nothing for the rest of the year. And then that's why I say I got lucky, is because they still reached out to me during that time.
And it's because they know you're in real estate, right?
Yeah, one was my grandma, one was my mom. So those were easy, but then 3 friends.
Carrie and Hannah, what is your success due to?
I would think mine's mostly social media, because they reached out. Like, it was usually Facebook messages would be how they reached out, because it was people, most of that I didn't even have their phone numbers, but I had their like emails and I had them in my database, and then they would just see my posts on social media about our team.
What about you, Hannah? What do you think your success was due to?
Mine, so the year 2019, I probably had like 5 or 6 close in my sphere. And I think this year it's branding. Yeah, some family, some friends. I missed out on a bunch of opportunities. Some of my best friends bought with other agents. So that's where I was wanting to really come here today, you know, to show our value to the team and what y'all do say, you know, because due to us not being agents, they, you know, went with somebody else because it wasn't actually me going to show them property or something, even though I have gone multiple times with other people, or like my parents, you know, they're under contract at the moment. And I went with them to a few showings just to show that I am involved, you know, throughout the process. But before had such good success in 2019 with, I think, closing 6 or 7 from my sphere. I was big involved in a charity here locally, and I sent out a letter saying that, you know, 10% of my donation or commission bonus will go towards, you know, benefiting the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation here in Central Arkansas. And so with that, I just ton of branding. I was raising a lot of money for CF, and, you know, just kind of a full circle came around. So, but branding, I post on Instagram a lot on my stories, changing out riders. If it's a house I pass, you know, going home, I'll change, just showing, you know, the life in real estate. Like at least 2 or 3 times a week I've time blocked in my calendar to post on social media and brand myself some way, somehow within the business. And like behind the scenes, like the good, the bad, the ugly that they see. So it's not all, you know, the pretty pictures and the big luxury homes. It's, you know, the little investment homes. Oh my God, look at this nasty thing that came up on a home inspection. You know, it's just the branding. So that's a lot of it. And then just scripting with the agents and having the conversations, you know, out and networking as my introvert self. It's very hard to do that sometimes, but just getting out there and having those conversations. So.
Yeah, I think the key is starting with that branding. They need to know you're in real estate, and they need to know consistently that you're in real estate.
Yeah.
You guys do with your sphere so that they know that?
I mean, mine, they're in on a 36 touch. I've got about 250 names in command. Probably about 30% of them have emails and addresses. So I know, 36 touch isn't working completely for those people. So that's obviously a work in progress, slowly getting there. But yeah, just a lot of work and branding, and hitting people and showing them that you're in real estate and involved throughout the transaction, out showing or going to accompany somebody on a showing, or go on a listing appointment if it's your person that you recommended to the team. Being involved has really helped.
And Hannah, both you and Cameron said something important. Your sphere is in the team's database and it's being marketed to. Does everybody have their sphere in their team's database? It's probably the first huge step to happen. Is everyone rewarded in some way if they bring in business from their sphere to the team?
Yeah, like last year in 2019, I made an additional $20,000 from referrals that came in. This year, I set that goal higher and completely just got busy. And with COVID, a lot, it just, focus went somewhere else. And then here's, the end of the year, I was like, all right, our net worth call that we had a few months ago in October, it's like, I need to close, X amount of contracts. And sure enough, I got busy and started lead generating a little bit and being proactive on bringing those referrals in. And it's kind of paid off here at the end. So
what would everybody do with an extra $20,000 a year? Cameron, how much extra did you make this year?
I think I'm right around 20 as well. I was just trying to pull it up in the background, but I actually just had a friend 2 weeks ago put my name on a new construction contract. He said that I was their agent and let me know, and I received an agreement by email last week. I don't even know where they're building, what the house looks like or anything, and it's $18,000 worth of commission. And they put me as a buyer's agent, so we're 50-50 split. So that's $9,000, and just because I stayed in contact with them. Kind of got lucky on that one.
So Hannah and Cameron, when you're in a social situation, do people come up and talk to you about real estate?
Yeah, for me, if they do, if they remember I'm in real estate, they do. They usually ask questions because our market's so crazy. And if not, I just do the simple like, oh, what are you doing nowadays? Like I ran into a friend the other day when I was out and about and I hadn't seen him in like 2 years. I was like, oh, hey, what are you up to nowadays? He's like, oh, still the same thing. What about you? And I was like, yep, I'm still selling real estate. Like I didn't even keep it. Yeah, still the same. I mentioned real estate. And so I made sure I have his number. We want to get together, and I'll just probably call and ask for referrals and never hang out with him because that's how I am in my admin self. I don't need a lot of friends.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of how we've been trained in Bold, to ask questions, and usually, hopefully, they'll ask the same questions back. I was traveling actually on a ski lift on Sunday, and I sat next to somebody, and I was just like, how have you been? I don't know who you are. I never met the person before in my life, and I was just like, how's your year been with COVID? Just having conversation because we're going to be on it for about 5 minutes together. And anyways, he moved to Colorado from New York and all these things, and got to started talking about business. Have you been affected from COVID? I was hoping he was going to ask the questions back, and sure enough, he did. He's like, what do you do? I'm in residential real estate. He's like, oh, we just moved to Denver, from New York. And I was like, well, do you have an agent? He was like, well, no, right now we're renting, but you know, we will be wanting, because we've fallen in love with Colorado. And so anyways, once we got to the top of the mountain, gave him my contact information. We exchanged phone numbers because I made sure to get his. And he was like, you know, my family and kids and wife, you know, yeah, we will be looking somewhere in the Denver area to buy. I live in Arkansas. So, you know, just making those contacts and connections and getting out of your comfort zone, but then asking and just starting the conversation, you know, about business. And then usually they will ask that question back. And then our Rainmaker, she taught us, you know, hey, if you go to a dinner or a wedding or a party or something, you know, bring up and mention like a theme house, you know, go into that, hey, oh my gosh, did you see that we listed this, you know, property in Valley Club, or I went into this property and it has this pool on the golf course, and just talk about like a theme home and just talk about that one house throughout the whole entire night. So it's not that you're bringing up the topic of real estate and you're not like hammering it to them. Hey, do you need to buy, sell, or invest? It goes back to talk about a theme home. So it's just branding, and then, you know, be that top, you know, within the top 3 brands, people of agents that they'll think of, you know, like toothpaste brands, chip brands, you know, they'll think of you when they think of real estate. So that's another thing I try to keep in mind as well.
That's a great idea. I hadn't heard that one before. That's a really great idea.
Yeah, I really liked what Cameron said. I appreciated that, because if you guys heard it, he said he got really lucky, right? And I would challenge and say, the more you put into it, the luckier you're going to be. And if you heard, is even though he didn't get the maybe the cause he was hoping for at the beginning, like you said, he still was consistent in the plan and on the touch, right? They were in the database, so they're on the 36 touch program, which then makes it seem as though we're lucky, right? And it's really about the consistency. And if you're consistent, you will get deals. Right, it will happen. So far, hopefully everyone wrote down: 1, whoever's in your phone needs to be going in the team's database. Get them on a touch plan, right, as best you can. 2, we learned that once you get them in there and we have them, we got to then get them on the touch plan, get them executing, go through, start doing that. 3.
Yeah, I had a, oh, sorry. I thought you
No,
were
go
done.
ahead. What were we going to say?
Keep going. No, I have a.
Well, I'm just going to say 3, hopefully you wrote down that it's branding. Like, you got to let people know that you're in real estate and bring it up consistently, right? And have those conversations, those mentions. What were we going to say, Cameron?
I was just going to say, I had an epiphany a few years back. I kind of rank my SY with A and B, and our team kind of does that. So A is everyone that you are accountable to call. Like, you should call everyone in the A every 90 days. The B will still send out emails, but we're not going to hold you accountable. And so I had a bunch of people in my SYB, and actually one of them called me, and like, as a touch, like, hey, I'm in this job. I know that you're in real estate. But if you ever have anyone looking for such and such, like, I'm in that business. And I was like, oh, cool, I'll keep you in mind. And I hung up and I was like, wait a minute, he just prospected me. I haven't talked to him in 4 years, and I didn't think that was weird. And so I was like, okay, I need to just start calling some of these Bs. And I read in a book, I want to say it's Give and Take, Givers and Takers. But anyway, you find your job. Most people find their next job through their weak ties, like the people you haven't talked to in a decade, kind of an idea. And really, in real estate, we're kind of looking for our next job with every single person, every transaction. And so I was trying to be very purposeful of reaching out to all my weak connections. And I actually do get a lot more referrals and closings from people that I don't see hardly ever, maybe talk to them once or twice, even when I'm calling them 4 times a year. And that's really where I get all my business, those weak ties, but it's a weird phone call.
Yeah. Cameron, I'm in agreement with that. That was an epiphany for me years ago too. It's the people who I didn't expect to do business with me that actually did business with me.
Yep. Yeah, I think a lot of people experience that.
And also, like, I've created a few like raving fans. They've been past clients of ours that sold an investment house. They've sold their personal home. Now we're selling their aunt or uncle's house. And so like I've got a few people that are just like obsessed with us, and we invite them to all our client parties, and just a few exclusive parties before COVID that we had, you know, they were at every single one. I make sure to touch them throughout the years multiple times with personal calls, and just have a few people that are like my real close, you know, within arm's reach. And a lot of my personal referrals come from those people.
So how do you guys do the handoff when the business is coming into you and another agent is actually running with the transaction?
I always brag about them. Oh my God, you're going to love them. They're going to take such good care of you. You know, I work this part of the business. They are so good at their job. You wouldn't want me to help you. I mean, I'm nice and we've met and everything, but I handle this aspect of it. So I make sure that they know that I'm involved in a way, and that, you know what, I can go with you. Absolutely. Until you feel comfortable with them, I can ride along in the car. Sure. Go look at houses, get you pre-approved, whatever you need. I'm here too. That's how I handle it. Just reassuring, calm.
Same. I just really talk up the agent, which makes it so much easier for me. I used to be an agent and I found it really hard to talk up myself, but I can like talk up our agents all day because I believe it. I really do think they're fantastic. I wouldn't be on the team if I didn't. And then I always offer I'll just go ahead and be on that first call with y'all. Like if you take a call with one of our agents later today, I'll usually say the agent's name with Lauren or whoever. And we can just have a 3-way conference call. I'll introduce you. They'll kind of go through their consultation with you and ask you some questions. And so I think it helps to kind of be on that initial consult call.
I think just setting the expectation, and like Danielle said, her and I are on the same team, and you know, setting the expectation that, you know, hey, we are involved, and I hear all the background information. I will keep you updated, but then having those personal touches, and I group call or group text the agent, myself, and who's ever on that contract in a group text. And like at least once a week, I'll be like, hey guys, how's everything going? I hear that, you know, we've got inspection on Thursday. You know, we need to get that in by next Wednesday, you know, and kind of go through these things, but have the conversation with the TC, you know, and the buyer agent or whoever it is before, and just make sure I'm not overdoing or overstepping any conversations, but just show that I'm still highly involved, and, you know, just be updated in case those people do reach back out to you to ask you questions, that you're knowledgeable and not like, oh, let me go talk to the TC because I have no clue what's going on. Like, be involved a little bit, you know, and kind of handheld them through it as well. But yeah, talking up the agents, and I do usually, if somebody calls like, hey, I need to buy a house. A friend called last night, hey, I want to buy an investment house with these interest rates so low. And I say, great, let me just beep in one of my agents that's great with investments. And I had her just get on the phone immediately to get them set up on a safe search, and let them let me share y'all's phone numbers after we get off the call. Samantha will take great care of you. So.
That's awesome. I love that you just immediately got your other agent on the call.
Yeah, it just kind of shows, I mean, urgency and how serious it is. And hey, we missed out on a house. You know, I saw this on Zillow and I want to buy something just like this. I'm like, all right, well, sounds like you're motivated. Let's get you started right now.
So who would like to bring in more referrals? Who's on this call because they want to bring in more referrals? So if you were an agent, what would you be doing to bring in more referrals?
Consistently reaching out to my database, calling them on a regular basis, doing it systematically on a quarterly basis, maintaining that 5-5-5 strategy, text messages, social media, engaging with them, not just posting something and hoping somebody comments on it or likes it or shares it, but actually taking the time to go through what they're posting and asking engaging questions and getting them to engage with me back would be step number one.
Yeah, I think that's huge. What else?
From our team specifically, it's a little, we have 5 on our ops team, but 3 of which do not live in any city that any of our locations are in. So our sphere is not located where any of our locations are in, so it can kind of be a little challenging. I'd kind of like to just kind of throw out a question around that, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
What would kind of, like, I don't know that a 36 touch, and this could just be my limiting belief around it, but I don't know that a 36 touch plan would be, it might be overkill for like the referral piece to have our sphere come to us for us to find them an agent in that location that we're in to get the referral out of it at the very least. I don't even know what kind of a reasonable amount of touches are or what those touches would even look like outside of a quarterly call.
12 by 12 is what kind of I've got our agent referrals on, and then my out of state people. I had one person, my friend, just closed in Denver a few weeks ago, or months ago actually, and she's been kind of getting our marketing, but I moved her over. She's a Met, but out of state Met, and they're on like a 12 by 12 campaign touch. So they're seeing some of the activity, but they're not getting kind of hammered with all the other things. And so I got an agent referral check off of that by making literally one phone call. That's what I've done, but I'd love to hear other people's too.
I've always just kept all of mine on the same 36 touch. I tend to have a lot of friends that move away and then move back. And so I'm more thinking of when they move back that I'm going to get them, but some of them never do. So maybe they're annoyed and they're like, I don't care about Utah real estate because I'm living in Washington or whatever. But I still just keep doing it. I don't tend to call them as much as I probably should though, which is probably my biggest fall.
What else? How many of us were, so a lot of people raised their hand, said they were interested in this, right? And I think Brooke brought up a great question, and yet it's probably hard for some of us to answer it, because I would go back to be like, how many of us made a plan for what we were going to do this year if we raised our hand and said we want to do referrals? Anyone like to share their plan?
So we created a really robust marketing plan for our 36 touch for next year with our existing database. I think where I get stuck personally is just truly committing to time blocking activities around contacting my personal sphere and making sure that I'm keeping up with what's going on in their lives and they know what's going on with mine. I think with COVID and working from home and having a 2-year-old running around, I've created a lot of excuses, especially this year, as to I'm too busy, I'm too busy, I'm too busy. I just got to keep things going on the back end. And I think I need to just start busting out of those limiting beliefs and really truly committing time to getting back into people's lives and bringing them value.
And could you break it down so that it was so small that it would be like 1 or 2 calls a day?
Yeah, I think I could. That sounds so easy. It's almost like, why aren't I doing that now?
I honestly have a plan, but mine is a very long-term plan. So I'm going to have 6 months in to the company first, And then my plan is to get my license because I don't have a license yet. So the way how I can do referrals, and it's just in my sphere right now, and being very careful how I'm talking to people about real estate. I can't really do anything directly with our database by me calling them and reaching out to them, because it's not only that it's not professional, but it's illegal. So but getting the better understanding, learning about people's ideas, kind of like the copycat mechanism of using other people tips, picking up of everyone's talent and brains, and kind of building up my own plan. But one thing I'm very solid on, it's 6 months into the company, within the business, I'm starting my real estate lessons. And after that, by then I'll be creating an actual plan that I'm gonna bring in these referrals in.
So Julian brought up a great point. Like, we have to limit our conversations if we aren't licensed. Yet I had a marketing director years ago who wasn't licensed, who brought in 10 deals. And she brought in 10 deals because she talked about how great the team was and how great the agents were in the team. And if they needed anything real estate wise, they needed to come to the team because they were so awesome. And it was amazing, the business she brought in.
Yeah, like kind of when I talk with you, Paula, it's being very intentional with the marketing strategies and plans, making sure, if you're not licensed like I am, making sure that whatever marketing you're planning on, it's gonna be very specific. What you want that marketing plan to bring back to you, what you're investing in that, what brings back to you. Is that investment worth or it's not worth? Just put it on the scale, measure it, and be like very intentional. Okay, so if I do X, A, B, and C, that's gonna bring to me X amount of money. So it is very, and more specific. I have a social media plan that I share with Paula around people emotions, their story. I kind of get a little inspiration from the fall masterminds, talking about, hey, this is your story, it's not my story. So I kind of wrap my hand around it, and I have a background of broadcasting journalism and all that. I was like, oh, I can do that. Actually, I can do their stories. And it's just kind of like, I start putting stuff together. I put the marketing plan, I pick the launching date and all that. I'll present it to the rainmaker and just go from there.
So what Julia brought up, the different plans, the different marketing, the strategy and categories, I think is something to be able to take away from what you were talking about. Because I think in your example, you almost need that too. Like, to play off of what Cameron kind of said earlier, I think you almost could have like an A and B set. Like, who is moving into your area, like your hub area where you're from, where you can really put them on a 36 touch and they partake. And then the rest are on a touch that's out, that maybe is not as intense, where they're not attending events, depending on the area and where they're at.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. And I like the 12 by 12 too. It's from my perspective, I'd be working to, most of, I guess, our spheres don't necessarily move out of state, but they're purchasing their first homes within where we grew up and don't have a location. So letting them know that, hey, we can still find you a great agent in XYZ area, even if it's outside of our team. But I don't necessarily want to say that in every mailer or touch that we send them. So kind of, how can we make that known without being overbearing at the same time?
Knowing that you do something around first-time home buyer, education, if that's really who you're marketing to, and then part of that is, will help you find an agent who can help you through this process.
I like that.
Another thing, one of my big things, I love to travel, and kind of before COVID, I would pop into multiple market centers in all the cities that I would go to. and meet with the team, usually meet with an admin or somebody to just hang out with, shadow, bounce ideas off of, at least for 3 to 4 hours each trip. And so I would always post, hey, if you're looking for, a team in Chicago, just met with them, they're great, would love to help you, contact me if you're looking, so then just branding yourself like, hey, Keller Williams is nation and worldwide, here's these other agents, that we can help you, just contact me and I can connect you with them. So that's another thing I've done.
Love that.
Usually every time when I try to travel, and I mean, I know it's a good place to pop in, say hi. If you need to use the bathroom, it happened to one in like Los Angeles. It was like we were stuck in traffic and, some of us girls had to go to the bathroom. I was like, oh, look, here's the office. Let's pop in. And it's set up the exact same way ours is. So just said hi and got a little tour around, the Keller Williams in Hollywood. It was kind of fun. So.
I feel like one of my biggest issues is I don't really have a very big sphere here. So I moved here, 7 years ago, I guess. And pretty much everyone I know is related to my husband. And so I feel like that's where I've had a hard time, is actually building up a sphere outside of family that I could potentially ask for referrals. But the other thing too is we moved here and then had kids. So it's like any social life I might have had went out the window.
Well, one, you just need to wait for those kids to get a little bit older, because then you're going to have all sorts of contacts. But Hannah had a good point with the charity that she was doing. Like, that was awesome. Like getting involved in something that's going to create that sphere for you.
Yeah, and we had our goal planning, actually just got done with it an hour ago, and we were looking at sources of business, and a gap, that a lot of our agents, a lot of them are just a year in the business, and hey, we've only closed 2 or 3 from each of y'all's sphere. This is something we got to improve pretty much. And what are some hobbies? One girl, she loves to play tennis. One, needs to find a hobby to go spend some time, to grow that database. If you don't have one, let's farm, your neighborhood, and your neighbors are about to be in, your sphere in command. I'll get their phone numbers. We'll start door knocking, and just plan, because we've got, I know 2 of our agents only have, it's sad, about 20 people in their sphere database. And for next year, that's not acceptable. So, just growing that, but also being involved with community. I grew my sphere by about 30 to 45 people, just being involved, with local charity within the last 2 years. So that was completely new, and it's been good. So.
Yeah, I think the hobbies are good, and then volunteer organizations. I was in something called Junior Auxiliary, which is kind of like Junior League. And I've had probably, I think 2 of the referrals that I had this past year were from there. So that's really good. And then, Hannah holds me accountable every week. I have a goal on my 4-on-1 to add 2 a week to my database. And I just moved to Las Vegas, so I'm not local to the team anymore. So I have to just kind of come up with people. If I don't have somebody, I got to go meet somebody or connect with someone somehow. So also, social media, there's a lot of groups, like local groups for different interests. So you can connect people through there as well.
Yeah, especially with COVID and Danielle moving to Vegas, she got on the Next Door Neighbor app and just said hey, my daughter needs to meet some kids and go play or just meet some people because everybody's home. And so, she created a little, group safely distanced in the park. She's been growing her database just there locally pretty well. Yeah. Meeting neighbors.
That really helped a lot. And it really wasn't business motivated, but it actually ended up getting me some networking, some contacts to add to my database. So.
And then birthday cards, anniversary cards, we make sure to hit those, the team, we send those out every single month to anybody's birthday. And that's big, I think, too. just on the 36 touch being in there.
I wrote down in when we did the fall masterminds, I wrote down a note. I picked up on that people make Facebook groups if your town doesn't have one. For example, Elizabeth, like either join a mom's group on Facebook in your area or create one. And if it's something that's not out there, for me, I created one for softball moms in our area because both my kids play softball, and from that mastermind I created that one. And I don't talk about real estate, we talk about softball and mom's stuff. And then that's just how I'm getting to meet people, because I've been in Atlanta for about 7 years, but like just these softball moms are like moving school districts and stuff, and they're not using me, and I'm like, okay, I got to get closer to them. So Facebook groups are good. I picked up that. I did that since the fall mastermind.
Piggybacking off of that a little bit is you can actually do Facebook farming. Someone in our market center was talking about it, and like you can grab people from groups and throw them onto a friends list and post like specific posts to those people, and it forces them to see it. So like instead of relying on the algorithm, like for sure they're going to see it. So like if you go through and you add random friends from all of these groups that are like really active in your neighborhood, and then you throw them onto a friends list, start doing targeted posts.
Oh, I love that. Because we have a lot of groups around here for like hiking and stuff. And there'll be like thousands of people in the groups, but only a handful are active. And so you if you're really active, you kind of make connections with local people who you might have never met.
Yeah, exactly. And even just seeing like who posts a lot or comments a lot, just adding them as friends and throwing them on that list and start posting and forcing them to see your content.
I like that.
Any ideas, Liz?
Yes, just I feel like most of it I need to make the connections face to face to begin with, which is a little bit hard considering the current climate. So yeah, getting ideas for hopefully next summer when we can actually leave our houses. Because honestly, just like connecting with people on Facebook, I stare at my computer all day. I can't spend all night staring at my phone to talk to people. So.
And so this year, your goal may be actually to build your database and not bring in.
Yeah, I love the idea, like the goal of adding like 2 people to your database every week, or adding 2 people, or just making sure you've got you're adding information to 2 people or something like that.
What I did to add to my database back 2016 when I started, I would do A's one week, B's next week, C's, and like each day or each week an alphabet letter, and just go through my contacts and slowly add to them. And like if I added Adam, Adam whatever, I would go and like add his phone number. I would go onto Facebook and search and look at his birthday and like get as much information as I could, and then usually text him and said like, hey, can I get your address? We're sending out Christmas cards. I would love to have your address. And they'll give it to you. And then just slowly keep adding to it, but just small letters at a time. Broke it down. And it finally grew.
Which is another good point. I mean, if we think about this from the agent perspective, we should be growing our database each year, and we should be growing our referrals each year.
But I mean, even each of all of us, we need to share all of our information, and y'all be on each of ours like 36 touches, to see like, okay, share what content we're giving out. Email newsletters. I'm on a few other admins throughout the country, and it's cool to see what they send out in their local events, postcards, and it helps for me, gives me ideas on what to post, newsletters. Oh yeah, we need to, give a coupon to a local plumber for the RPZ valve, or something like that. It's just like, the holiday cleanup or spring cleaning, just little things like that But I mean, here, what, there's about 10 of us on here. There's 10 or 12 people to add to your database right here, you know, to share. So you can get full address, email, contact. So just when I, you know, go into trainings in person, that's what I would just try to network and slowly grow my database that way as well. And then hit them at least with a 36 touch or the 12 by 12 for out of state met or agent referral met.
What else? Did we cover referrals? Do we have a good idea, good plan?
I really love that week over week, letter by letter system, because I think sometimes we can look at all of our contacts and all the people we know, and it feels really daunting and overwhelming. And you just have to keep telling yourself, and I just have to keep telling myself, we eat an elephant one bite at a time. So as long as you're working on it a little bit every single day, you're winning. And I think I just need to stop looking at it as such a big, daunting project and just do a little bit every single day. So thank you for that, Hannah. That's really helpful.
Well, and it started out being, okay, add 10 people to my database, but I'm like, oh God, what 10 people? You know, they're coming from random places, like my mom, my sister, my brother, my dad, my grandparent, you know, it started small that way. And I was like, oh, where do I even, I was like, all right, SMART goals, be specific. So then, you know, I was like, all right, A's. So then I would like, sometimes I'd knock out A's, you know, in like 10 minutes, adding them to command. Well, I'm done for that week. Sometimes B's, you know, might take longer or whatever. So just see, you know, what I started. It gave me a start and a stop point. It was kind of nice. Being like, all right, I accomplished it, you know, then like E's, not many people have, you know, like a first name E or something. And, you know, you could add 4 or 5 and then you're done for that week.
And you get to M's and it takes you 3 weeks. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's what I just kind of wrote it out, you know, for that many weeks, I guess 26 weeks. So.
Yeah, I love that.
Is there anything around this topic that we haven't covered?
I have a question for the group. Out of your referrals that you've received, what percentage do you think came from because of social media? 0?
I think all of mine.
Oh, okay. Because I am the worst at social media. I've posted twice in the last 2 years, and it's because I had 2 kids. And I have so many agents on my team that get a ton of business because of social media. And I'm kind of like Liz. I'm like, I'm looking at a computer all day. I don't want to look at my phone all night and worry about that. And so I've been trying to convince myself that I can do social media. I'm going to do it and post all the time. And that's not me. And one of my other goals was to lean towards my strengths. And I was like, I'm going against one of my goals to try to get more referrals. And so
even though most of mine came from social media, I would tend to want to say lean towards your strengths, because I do some, you know, trainings in the office with agents, and I give advice from when I was an agent before I joined as an admin. And I always tell them, like, you can do so many things. Don't try to do all the things. Pick the things that you like. If you like open houses and you like door knocking, do those things. So I think kind of we should follow the same thing. Like, I wouldn't try to, if you're just not, I naturally am on Facebook like all the time. So that's why I do it, and it's easy for me. But I would try to stick with, like you said, leaning towards your strengths.
Yeah, I call it stalkerazzi. I just look at people's pictures. There's no posting, no comments, no likes. It's like I'm not even there, but I see everything.
Well, I'm a big fan of doing yes, how, right? Like if everything is just a yes, going there, and it helped turn my pessimism into a little bit of optimism, because I was really bad too. Like, it's always, you know, for me, just my personality is a no always at first. And I had to really be intentional about the fact, if you just say yes and then grab a scrap piece of paper and write, okay, if it's a yes, how would I do it? Right. And then the next part of that is giving yourself permission, identifying what you don't like to do, and then what levers can you pull to do it. So for like time's sake, I'm just going to jump in and go straight. Like, Cameron, the minute you said that, like, I agree with you. So then I think, like, well, so if he was going to do it and it's a yes, he wants to do it, what could he do so he's not staring at his phone? And I thought, okay, so what question can I ask that would drive me to the next spot? Which is, well, how do I do this and not look at my phone past 5 o'clock? My mind went to, what if you created a business page for you, and then you used system software like Hootsuite or something that automatically posted these generic things for you?
Command will post it on Facebook for you, right?
Yeah, it will. Yeah, if you're in Command, it would be free. Yeah, absolutely. You could schedule it out.
Well, my marketer even builds out social media posts. So I'm like, I literally have everything I need, except for it's just not me. And I don't also want to just be all business. So I'm like, I'd have to like take pictures of my kids and stuff and post things. And so we'll see if I can figure out the not being on all the time type thing, because I feel like I have a lot of it leveraged out, and it could be simple except for the interaction.
So I've got a built out, I gotta find it from it's somewhere written out, but it is a content calendar for personal. So like even the agents, because some of them I'm like, y'all have got to amp up your social media. Here's content. Here's what to post every single day. It's like, post something personal. Oh my gosh, I enjoyed this cup of coffee from Starbucks. You know, here's a new flavor. Something, you know, kind of stupid like that. You know, like, don't post just all about real estate. You got to have a good balance, because if you're hitting people up only about real estate, they're just gonna be like, oh my gosh, let it up, you know, let's see something about you, your family, you know, like what your hobbies are. So try to post like a variety of different things, and then throw in real estate. One of our agents, Samantha, she's really good. She's closed 22 deals from her sphere just this year, and she posts and she puts everything out there on Facebook. She's vulnerable. She has the personality to do it. She's like, I need help, and we've time blocked, you know, multiple times. Or I'll say like, hey, you need to post. She just bought and sold, you know, her own personal home within a day, and I was like, you need to post about this. Here's the pictures, you know, and she'll write up a whole good post about it. So content calendar, and then like I said, time blocking, you know, like Tuesdays at 11, look on Google and you can see what days are best to post to get the most views and interactions. Like, never post on Mondays because everybody's too busy at work. Fridays at noon, 1 o'clock are great. So just look on, you know, kind of Facebook or on Google to see what times to go live on Facebook, and then just kind of put yourself out there. You know, we've all gotten pretty decent at videos and being recorded and talking to the computer or the screen, I feel like, this year. So, you know, doing a Facebook Live, walking through a house or, you know, something, just, I don't know, content, and making mixed media and variety, not just real estate or not just personal, but doing a little bit of both, to me, has helped quite a bit.
And if that feels overwhelming, start somewhere.
Yeah. I'm going to freak everyone out with the random posts, and I'm going to be like, what? You're not having a baby?
Is there another kid?
Oh, I hope not. There's already 4. That's too many.
I think you have to do more than hope then.
That's what I tell my wife. She won't let me.
Kathy brings up a great point. Hope is not a strategy.
Which is why I've never really liked social media. I feel like it's very passive, and you hope that people like your posts and interact and then come to you when they have real estate. That's why I've always focused towards phone calls, the 36 touch, like things that I can control completely. Who even knows if they're going to see my post if I do post? And so,
well, I think that's where like the farming technique that Natalie mentioned comes in, is because if you can put them into a group where they're forced to see your post, like they'll see it at least once, then I feel like that takes a little bit of the hope out of it.
Yeah.
And it's like a conversation starter. I mean, I remember somebody just posted or commented, I saw them out a few weeks ago, like, oh yeah, I saw that, house with the big pool. That, that's such a cool house. Just like a conversation starter usually, or it's like, man, I see that y'all are busy, in real estate, oh, how are interest rates? So then like just kind of sharing little tidbits, of value out there. And then usually it's a lot of people bringing it up to me. Hey, how's the market? How is this? How's it been affected from COVID? So I don't like social media. I've kind of gotten over the point. If I get 2 likes, great. I don't really care. This is kind of like a photo album and a story of my life. And I've just put it out there. I don't care the likes or the interaction. Some days will be a little bit more intentional, usually about real estate, watching the times, or saving a good post to a decent time so more people will see it. Like Sunday afternoons are a great time to post, 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night on Sundays. So just kind of look on, what the algorithms are for social media and when to post and be intentional then. That's where just kind of getting over, if I get rejected on social media or nobody comments or nobody likes, it's not going to hurt my feelings or I don't care. Just kind of puts it out there for me. I like looking back at it and be like, oh yeah, that was a fun day or that was a fun trip or whatever. So I think just start somewhere.
And Cameron, I agree with you. Like when you've been in real estate a while, I mean, way back when it was always, don't do it passive. You want to be intentional. You want to have control over it. And yet look how well Facebook has worked for people.
No, the best I've ever done on Facebook is I actually targeted my SOI. Even Command does it now, but before that it was difficult, but you could do it. But you can just click like add to my SOI in Facebook, and it was like buy or sell a house with Cameron. It was like my picture in a house or something super cheesy like that. People were screenshotting it and sending it to me like, hey, I got your ad on Facebook. I'm like, I know. I know. But it didn't work as well the second time. So maybe every once in a while, every year or two, I'll have to do something like that.
I actually like doing polls on Facebook. I find that if I am going to post something that gets a lot of engagement, one of the first ones I ever did, I actually just asked everybody, like, who knew I was in real estate? Yes, no, yeah, I did, but I didn't really know what it was that you did, or I didn't understand your role in real estate. That got a ton of engagement, and it actually, this was 2 years ago, I did get 3 referrals just off of that post. So it kind of like really helped put it out there. I post more about my family than my business, and I think I need to start making more of an effort to post about our business.
It's a great idea. I'd be afraid of the results of the poll. I don't even think my parents still understand what in the world I do, and I've explained this to them. I don't know how many times.
I get that a lot. Director of operations. So what do you do?
When are you getting your license? When are you going to take people out?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I usually tell them the question is, what don't I do?
Okay.
I try and keep it simple. I manage a real estate team.
I've used the analogy, it's like a car dealership. I'm the back end guy. I'm not the person out on the floor helping you sell or buy a car. I'm kind of the back end finance people. We take care of all the stuff you don't see. So, because most people have, usually bought a car or something. So we'll do that quite a bit sometimes.
Well, we were at 3:30. So our next one's going to be on January 7th with our book, The Road Less Stupid. And who has actually read the book already? What do you think of it, Cameron?
I loved it.
Yeah.
Now go and think, right?
Yeah.
I'm halfway through.
And are you enjoying it?
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely one of those books that you don't read it and then put it on a shelf. Like, to get the max out of it, you have to actually keep going back to it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yep, agreed. Okay, well, everyone have a great holiday, and we'll see everybody on January 7th.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.